So in this video, we are looking at factorization. So when you factorize a trinomial, you will have two brackets like this. These are factorizable trinomials where you have x squared followed by x, followed by a constant, followed by a constant. And so first thing you're going to have is b and b in the brackets. Notice that b times b is b squared. Then I'm going to look at the 7 and find factors of 7. Factors of 7 are 7 times 1. 7 and 1 are the only factors because 7 is a prime number. Then you're going to look at the sign, the plus. This plus means that the signs will be the same. Will they both be negative or will they both be positive? So that plus that's indicated means that the signs will be the same. Either they will both be positive or they will both be negative. The next question to ask yourself, how will I know if it's both negative or both positive? All you have to do is look at the center term. Therefore, both will be positive. And so the factors here are b plus 7 in brackets and b plus 1. Notice that this is not an equation because the original question did not have the trinomial being equal to 0 or the trinomial being equal to a number. So notice this is the answer. Looking at this trinomial, it is clear that this is not an equation, it's an expression. There is no is equal to sign in this question. The question is saying here that we must factorize. So factorizing this, we will end up with two brackets. Then we look at n squared. To get n squared, it means n times n is n squared. So n will be going in the brackets. After this, we will need to look at 10, and you will have to come up with factors of 10. Now the factors of 10 are 10 times 1. 10 times 1 gives us 10. 5 times 2 also gives us 10. But which 2 will give us the middle number if added or subtracted? So 10 plus 1 will give me 11. Notice that 5 and a 2 if added will give me 7. So 5 and 2 clearly cannot work. I will have to use the 10 and the 1. Now notice that 10 plus 1 can give me 11. Now I need to work out the signs. Notice I have to look at the constants. What sign is in front of the constant? This positive means that both the signs will be the same. But what will they be? Let's look at the center term. So it is negative. This means in the brackets they must be the same and both be negative. Right? So if we add up a minus 10 and a minus 1 on our calculators, we will get minus 10 minus 1 is equal to minus 11. And if you want to really make sure that this is the correct answer, all you have to do is FOIL out your answer. FOIL it out, try it, and you will go right back to the question. Now notice the second type that I'm dealing with here, these are equations. Do note that there's an equal to sign. So the first line of factorization is not really just to start factorizing into brackets, but first we should consider if there is a common factor in those three terms. So when we're saying a common factor, there must be a factor that is common to each one of those terms. You must remove that common factor and place it on the outside of the bracket. So you must ask yourself, what number can divide into all these terms without a remainder? Think about it nicely. The biggest, largest number that can be divided into all those numbers without a remainder. That number is going to be 4. So 4 divided by 4 is 1. 20 divided by 4 is 5. 24 divided by 4 is 6. Don't forget we divided by 4, so place that on the outside of the bracket. Next, we're going to have to look at factors of 6. The factors of 6 are 6 times 1. Also, 3 times 2. In this question, do note it is different from the previous two. Those questions had a plus at the end. This one has a negative. Negative means the signs are different. Now, using different signs, can you get a 5? Because the goal is to get a positive 5. So think of two numbers that you can use to get a positive 5 when subtracted from each other. Can 6 and 1 work to get a 5 with different signs? We find that plus 6 minus 1 is a plus 5. Therefore, our numbers are plus 6 and minus 1. Place them in the brackets. Don't forget that x times x gives us x squared. That is now factorized. But don't forget, we are trying to solve for x here. This is an equation. So we are solving for x. All of that we see is equal to 0. Next step, all you have to do is let each bracket equal to 0 and solve for x. So x plus 6 is equal to 0. We're going to move that plus 6 over to the other side. It will become minus 6. And so x minus 1 is equal to 0. We're going to move that minus 1 over to the right hand side. It's going to become plus 1. Our answers for x is x is equal to minus 6 or x is equal to 1. Now here we have a different type. In this case, we notice that there's a number in front of x squared. And so this type takes a little more work to factorize than the previous type, where there was no number in front of x squared. But it's simple. All you have to do is convert it to a type where there's no number in front of x squared. How do we do this? We multiply the outer numbers by each other. So this is going to be temporary work in pencil. So 5 times 10 is 50. Now it becomes like the first type, or the second type should I say, that I showed you where there's no number in front of x. So all you're going to do is find factors of 50. And then the combination of those factors, can we get the middle number minus 27? So think of two numbers that can give you 50. 50 times 1 is the first one. Think of the second one. Now notice 50 and 1 can give us 51, right? Remember the signs must be the same. And then we have 25 and 2. 25 and 2 can definitely give us 27 when added together. So yep, 25 and 2 looks doable. So minus 25 minus 2 will give us minus 27. Why did I choose negatives? Because I looked at the center number and notice that the center term, there's a negative there. So in this case, we have negatives, but same signs. So let's do our brackets. All of this is temporary pencil work. Then we're going to put in our number, minus 25 and minus 2. Do note that this is not the final answer. What we have to do is now divide by 5, because remember in the first step, we actually multiplied by 5. So now we need to divide by 5. And then we simplify the fraction. If it can't be simplified, then we take the denominator and we push it in front of x. Okay, and so these are our brackets. Next step is to let all of that equal 0. You can now remove all the pencil work and let each bracket equal to 0 and solve for x. Moving the minus 5 over to the right hand side, we will get x is equal to positive 5. And on the right hand side, we have 5x minus 2 is equal to 0. Move the minus 2 over, we'll get positive 2. And next step will be to divide both sides by 5. Why are we dividing by 5? Because we are interested in 1x and not 5x's. To divide both sides by 5, we will get x is equal to 2 over 5. And that is our final answer. Do pause the video and see if you can do this one. First step will be to multiply the 1 and the 3. Right, so multiplying 3 times 1, we will get n squared minus 4n plus 3. Then we will factorize that. Looking at factors of 3. Factors of 3 are 3 times 1, and the signs must be the same. They will both be negative. So the plus in front of the 3 means that the signs will be the same. So what sign will they be? Look at the middle term, you'll notice it's a negative. So therefore, negative 3, negative 1 gives us negative 4 if added. The next step will then be to write the n's in. N times n is n squared. Now all of that is the temporary work. Let's shift it over. So once you've divided it by 3, don't forget to simplify first, and then it's as simple as that. Don't forget all of that is equal to 0, then let the brackets equal 0. Right? Let each bracket equal to 0 and solve for n. The first step will be to move that minus 1 over to the right hand side. You will get n is equal to 1. On the right hand side, 3n minus 1 is equal to 0. The first step will be to move that minus 1 over to the right hand side. And the next step would be to divide both sides by 3. And we will get n is equal to a third. So notice here, our final answer, n is equal to 1 or n is equal to 1/3. We're now going to move on to zero factor rule. Solving for x, zero factor rule. To think zero factor rule is very simple. A times b is equal to 0, so how much is a? A is 0. How much is b? B must be 0 in order to get an answer of 0. So once again, a times b is equal to 0. So a must be 0, b must be 0 in order to get an answer of 0. So all you have to do is highlight which is the a in the given question. So if x is a, this means that x on the outside in the blue square must be 0. Now 0 times that whole bracket will be equal to 0. Therefore, that x on the outside is definitely 0. Now the next thing to do is block that x because you already know it's 0. So that means you're left with x plus 2 equals 0. Solve for x. Take that x plus 2 on the left hand side, take that plus 2 and move it over to the right hand side. How much will you get? X is equal to minus 2. I'm sure you can agree that that is a bit too long to do. That is far too much work. So all you have to do is flip the sign of what you see in the bracket. So notice I see a plus in the first bracket. What is the opposite of a plus? It's definitely minus. And repeat the same number that you see. See if you can do the next bracket. Pause the video and see if you can do the bracket on the right. X minus 4. How much will that x be in that bracket? So take the opposite sign. Notice it's a minus 4. This means the answer is going to be plus 4. It's as simple as that. Right, we are still busy with the zero factor rule. Let each bracket equal to 0 in your head. What does this mean? Take the opposite sign and exactly the same number that you see. Let's look at the first bracket. That's a plus. This means we're going to switch it to a minus. The second bracket, it's a plus. This means we're going to switch it to a minus. And then you're going to write exactly the same number that you see. 1/2 and 1/4. It is that simple. I still cannot understand why people are using the quadratic formula to find the answers for these questions. I find it very weird. Now this question is very similar to the one we did before. Look up. Notice that one just had an x and not 2x. Now a times b is equal to 0. So if a times b is equal to 0, can you tell me how much is a? A must be 0. 0 times b is 0. So a is 0. And now if you look at it, b is equal to 0, definitely. I want you to compare the given question at hand and compare it with a, b is equal to 0. Compare it. Notice that the a is equal to 2x. And how much did we say the a was? The a was 0. So that means 2x equals 0. So how much then is this x? This x must be 0. 2 times 0 is 0. And x plus 4 is equal to 0. We're going to move the plus 4 over to the right hand side. X is equal to minus 4. Right, and looking at this final question, I want you to pause the video and see if you can answer this question. It is very, very simple. And so the first step, I'll divide both sides by 2 to get rid of that 2. 0 divided by 2 is still 0, right? Now, let each bracket equal to 0, or just flip the sign and choose the same number. So notice that's a plus 2. So that one, the flip of plus is negative. Notice the second bracket on the right with the 5 in it has a negative in front of the 5. The flip of a negative is a positive. And write the same numbers. Now, it cannot get any more simpler than that. Happy learning. All the best.